Most people don't know it, but the Cardinals are actually the oldest team in the National Football League. We date back to 1898, so we've been doing business in the 1800s, 1900s, and now the 21st century. But what they don't know is we started out in the southwest side of Chicago, and we represented an Irish neighborhood. And so literally the founder, coach, and one of the players was a gentleman named Chris O'Brien. And this was before stadiums and TV contracts and even contracts with football players. But in 1898, it was a neighborhood sport. As everybody knows, Chicago is a city of neighborhoods. We would play the Italian neighborhood, the German neighborhood, the Dutch neighborhood. And so a year or so later, the team was, it didn't really have an identity other than the Morgan Street Athletic Club is what it was called. A couple years later, Chris O'Brien, who was now the owner, coach, and a player, purchased the used jerseys from the University of Chicago, who are still known as the Maroons, and held these jerseys up. They were faded maroon. He said, these aren't maroon, they're not red, they're not burgundy. They're cardinal red. We're going to call ourselves the Cardinals from now on. So we're actually named after the color cardinal. And then in 1960, when literally the NFL went to plastic helmets from leather helmets, the team started painting logos on the side of their helmets, and we started identifying with the bird. You know, my family has got a long history in the National Football League, and we actually started out, my grandfather bought into the Chicago Bears, and the Hallis family and the Bidwill family still remain very close. And so he bought in during the Great Depression when George Hallis was running out of money to pay off the loan payments to his partner. So my grandfather stepped in and took out his partner and loaned George Hallis the money so that he could stay an owner of the Bears, all in a handshake deal that when he got a chance, my grandfather would get a chance to buy his own team. A few years later, he bought the Crosstown Cardinals and began running the team after that. What most people don't know is that when my grandfather got sick in 1947 and passed away, my grandmother, Violet Bidwill, who became at that point the first female owner of a sports team in the world. And she ran the team for the next 15 years. This is back when the NFL wasn't predominantly male. It was exclusively male, except for Violet. Violet's mother was Irish, of Irish descent, and Violet was of Irish and German descent. And she ran the team for 15 seasons, won a championship, lost a championship, had a lot of great success in business. And I'm really proud to be third generation running the team. Someday it'll be a fourth generation running the team, but it's exciting. The team moved here in 1988. I moved a couple of years after that when I graduated from law school, moved out from Washington, D.C. I actually started as a prosecutor, working for the federal government as a federal prosecutor, and for 6 years did that, then joined the team in 1996 to start working on the stadium, which is now known as State Farm Stadium. You know, growing up around the team was really unique, traveling with the team, and I understood at a young age that we were in a special business, and it was exciting growing up and doing all the odd jobs that I started as a ball boy when I was 9 years old and just grew up around the team. I wanted to go out and do my own thing, and so that's why I practiced law for a number of years before coming back to work on our stadium. But for me, it was just very special growing up around the organization. So I was a board member of my high school, Georgetown Prep in Washington, D.C. It's the only Jesuit Catholic boarding school in the United States. We have a rugby team at Georgetown Prep, and a number of my classmates and I decided to go and support that rugby team when they went over to play the 6 Jesuit boarding schools in Ireland that also have rugby teams. And so we decided to take a trip to Dublin and celebrate their success and just join the boys in supporting them. When I think about being an owner of an NFL team, and that's what I've been described as, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my father all were owners, but I think we really look at it as stewardship of the franchise, but it's also a platform in which we can do a lot of really great things. And so we want to use the team and its popularity for good, for the community. That's what my grandfather did, it's what my grandmother did, it's what my father did, and that's what I'm doing. And it's really important to us that we have a philanthropic arm, but it's also really important because a lot of times it's showing up and standing up for not just the popular things, but also the things that need somebody that need a champion for them that may not be the most popular things, but are the right thing to do. So for me, it's about trying to improve this community in every way we can and taking that step by step where you see opportunities where we can have an impact. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the board of directors. I'd like to thank all those who had a hand in selecting me, and I'm really representing my family and the Arizona Cardinals and our employees and all of our players and coaches that do so many great things in this community. It's a huge honor for me. I'm humbled by it, and I thank you.